And good morning, everyone. It is Wednesday, the day before Thanksgiving, a significant day in my calendar year. I hope it is for you too. And as part of that, this will be our last show for this week because tomorrow, although we are going to be just three, yesterday I said we might be four, but in discussions last night, we decided the safest for everyone, our little bubble, and everyone else's little bubble, that we were not going to mix bubbles tomorrow. And we are taking this extremely serious for all the people concerned, not just for us. And so we will be a bubble of three tomorrow. My son and daughter-in-law who live here in my big house, and myself. But I am making a full-on Thanksgiving dinner. Either way, we love leftovers. So, hey. That part will be wonderful. And I think the only thing we might not be making is the green bean casserole, but we might make that too. We have all the fixings for it. So we hope that wherever you are, that you will reach out to family and friends digitally. I'm going to have my computer and a camera in the kitchen. And as I'm cooking, I intend to try and reach out to everybody. Every time there's a little break, I'm going to make another call, hopefully a video call, and try and celebrate Thanksgiving in that way, so that all the people that we could be at, typically for me, it's going to my cousin's house about 3 miles away, and they throw a big Thanksgiving. There's usually about 20 people there, and it is a joyous celebration. And it has been for 25 years. This is 2094, 26. This would be since I came back here to the family farm. And that time, 26 years ago, all of the people that were one level up for me, my parents, cousin Ron's parents, his wife Julie, her parents, and others of that generation were also included in that. And then, of course, as the years went by, one was missing, and then two, and then three. And my mom in 05, my dad in 10, and there is now no one left. And even cousin Ron has now passed on. So the cycle has been changing, but we have been keeping it all together. And there has been massive family. And of course, as the top has been leaving us, there has been more from the bottom. Julie now has 12 wonderful grandchildren, some of who are driving. And so you can just pass it off as the circle of life, but it's, to me, way, way, way more than that. It is just an unbelievable observation now that I'm going to be 70 of how blessed we really are to live here in the Red River Valley and to be in agriculture. I think that agriculture is something that holds us all together in one way or another. And now, in these last years, to be in the hemp business for myself and my extended family, my business partner, certainly more than just, at arm's length business partners. Our families are close and involved also. And so lots of Christmas presents to buy, but I sure don't mind that at all. All right, our story today, this is Have You Heard? So it's a short day on Wednesday. And just a reminder, no show tomorrow. But of course, we will be back on Monday with our last show of November. And then we start the countdown to Christmas. Where has the year gone on the one hand, and how could this year take so long on the other? The Des Moines Register has put out an incredible story about hemp, because it was the first legal year for our friends down there. And boy, they're just talking about the big thing, of course. What does too hot mean, as they are writing to their audience and really talking about hemp for the first time for many of them. And so, too hot. And I hate doing the mini-me, putting it in quotes, but that's how they did it. The level of THC, the psychoactive component in cannabis plants, exceeding state and federal limits. And she talks about one of the farmers who his first hemp crop went up in smoke. And we burnt one of our fields, not in the field, but afterwards, not because it was too high in THC. It passed all the tests. But if you remember last year in October or before October, it was a glorious fall. It was just absolutely beautiful. And we left it in the field too long, thinking that we had plenty of time. And all of a sudden came 8 inches of rain, and the water stood and was standing. It just didn't have a place to go because we never expected 8 inches of rain on what had been a hog pasture from 1961 and all the way back to 1919. And it was just gentle land that had absorbed any kind of water that had been put on it before, but never 8 inches. And then when that water was still standing on it, the big snowstorm came and pushed all of the bottoms of the plants down into it. We had gotten about 125 plants off of the 900 or so that were there before that happened. They were awesome. They were just great. But as the days went by and we pumped off the field and the snow abated a bit, well, pretty good, actually, it went away. And we got guys out there and we harvested it and we hung it in one of our Quonsets. And we just watched it through the year, but we kind of knew as the winter went by, it just wasn't anything we'd be proud of and want to sell. And so one day last spring, we took it out in the middle of the yard and piled it high and lit a match to it. And there was a lot of BTUs of energy in it. It was a big fire, a big, hot, fast burning fire. It was amazing. It was amazing. Nearly 90 licenses in Iowa this year had to burn their crops. And that's really sad. We have to get some way to get hemp that just does not go above this magic number of 0.3, 1/3 about of 1% of THC. Now, to put that in beer terms, typically beer, American beer, is about 5%. But in a lot of grocery stores, you can buy what's called near beer. And that is, like 0.1 or 0.2% beer because they just can't get the last little bit of alcohol on it. A lot of products, by the way, have alcohol in them that you buy and cook with. Vanilla has a lot of alcohol in it, but you'd have to drink a lot of vanilla. You'd be sick before you got anything out of that. But there's lots of products that have some alcohol in them. So near beer is available. You can buy it. You still, I don't know if you have to be of age to buy beer in the grocery store that's near beer. I don't know what the laws are on that. But you can buy it, and people buy it because they want the taste of beer at a picnic, and they don't want any alcohol. Pregnant ladies want it, and of course they are respecting the no alcohol during pregnancy thing, which is a good thing. But we need no THC hemp, and they are breeding that up. And some breeds are really good now. We did some testing the other day, and the THC level was almost nil. But some strains are not. And then it depends on how you raise it, how long you leave it in the field, what kind of moisture it had, what kind of sunshine it had. The combination of all of these things also will determine where the THC level goes. This is all being worked on, but unfortunately, some farmers just had the luck of the draw and the bad things in it. So it's really too bad. Iowa farmers planted about 680 acres this one that's finishing, and they hope to get in on it because it is a $5 billion market, and it's going to grow yet over the next years. I think it's going to grow a lot. So it's backbreaking, hand weeding, as they're saying. We, of course, up here are trying to move toward regular farming of it with combines and planters and everything like that. But we've talked about the every plant named and numbered kind of thing, and that's pretty much what they did down in Iowa. They're talking about a lot of insect problems down there. And then, of course, it was an oversaturated market. Actually, it wasn't. I think that's a wrong term. I don't think it was oversaturated. It was about connecting growers to end users. I think end users wanted to buy it, but they weren't interested in buying, a liter here and a liter there. We've got to get that connection yet. A Clear Lake farmer. I know about Clear Lake. That's an interesting town. I have radio connections back to that, and I don't know if you remember, but Clear Lake, isn't that where on the show MASH? Isn't that where what's his name was from? The guy, the second in command, not command, but the guy that took care of the bosses on there. Anyway, he was a new hemp farmer. He said the experiment was exhilarating. It was fun learning about a new crop, a lot more than he thought was going to have to happen. He does see hemp as a way of diversifying his land, and of course, helping with the state's 22 million acres of corn and soybeans. Down there, that's all it is. It's corn, then it's soybeans. It's corn, then it's soybeans. It's corn, then it's soybeans. And they use Roundup ready crops. So as you drive by the fields, it's absolutely pure. It's beautiful on the one hand because, other than kochia, which I don't know if it's caught on down there, it's a plant that is also Roundup ignorant. It's not bothered by Roundup. So up here we see it in our sugar beet fields. But other than that, man, those fields are just black dirt and corn or soybeans. So it looks like they're perfectly manicured and somebody went out and pulled every weed. That, of course, can't happen with hemp because we cannot put on any pesticides, fungicides, herbicides, or anything like that with hemp. So that's just off limits to put anything on there. And of course, no Roundup can get anywhere near any kind of hemp fields. So the state doesn't exactly know how much hemp was actually harvested. But of course, 13% of it had to be fully, partially destroyed because it went hot. And that's what they know for sure. This gentleman we're just talking about said that he believes his plants spiked, went over the level because they got stressed, fighting against weeds that were around them. They were fighting for sunlight and nutrients. And he was 3 times over. So he was about 1% hemp. And he said it was a big letdown. They're still deciding if they're going to do it again next year. As he says, everything grows well in the Iowa soil. And so this is a big problem. And they've got a picture here showing them burning their hemp fields. And it was just exactly as it was with us. It burns fast and it burns hot. This is just a problem. Now, this is an interesting thing here, and I'm just really curious what this guy did. He had 600 plants. That was probably a half an acre. Easily, you could put 600 plants on a half an acre and give them each 12 or 15 square feet. And it says he hand sprayed them twice a week with a pesticide until they began flowering. I would tell you he didn't do that. Unless he had something organic, he might have sprayed them with an oil from another plant, but he did not spray them with a pesticide. So I'm guessing that whoever wrote this article wasn't listening well. And he might have said that he sprayed them with an oil from another plant that acts like a pesticide. It took 10 people 2 weeks to hand harvest the crop. Think about it. So that means it took one guy 2 weeks to hand harvest 60 plants. This is not a way that hemp is going to become a crop across the United States. So it took one guy. It took 10 guys 2 weeks to do 600 plants. It took one guy then 2 weeks to do 60 plants. So it took one guy 1 week to do 60 plants. So it took one guy 1 day to do 12 plants. We got to get down there. We got to talk to these fine folks. Show them they can do it a little faster. That's amazing, because when we harvested, we brought in 500 plants in about 6 hours. 3 guys and me. I was running the Polaris. One guy was out there chopping, because the stalks on the plants were about this big around at that time, and he had a hatchet. We tried a variety of things. We had a hatchet left over from when we had chickens, and the hatchet had a blade where my thumbs are the sharp edge of the blade. But it was about a 6-inch blade made for chopping chickens, if you know what I mean. And it had a pretty long handle on it. And he would bend over, take the stalk, and 1, 2, 3, and that plant was free. And he just laid it over then. And he went to the next one. And he never stood up. He just stayed bent over. And he was chopping. And then I had 2 guys. One guy would come with me to the Quonset and unload. And one guy would, wait a minute, nope. So then there was one guy in the field that was gathering them together. I would bring the Ranger around and we would put them in the back of the Ranger. I would drive the Ranger to the Quonset, and then the guy and I there would put them in the Quonset. So I was going back and forth. But in about 6 hours, we did 500 plants. So either they were kid gloving this way too much. Anyway, that's my story. I'm sticking to it. That's what's happening down in Iowa. Interesting time down there. I wish that this thing that's going around, this disease, would be over, because I would like to get in my car. I would like to go down. I would like to talk to these guys. I would like to see what they're doing. I would like to just learn from them and learn their ways, and maybe share a little bit of what we're doing if they're interested. They're talking down there, of course, that this guy has heard about farmers that have 2 or 3 years of harvest. He says you can't take it to the local elevator to sell, and he's not going to put a seed in the ground until he has a contract to sell it. So that's some news from down in Iowa, their first legal year last year. I'm telling you, I still believe in the crop more than I have yet. The people that I talk to, some of the farmers out there are unsure, and I understand their unsurety. And that's a new word, isn't it? But I believe that we have an industry and a market here that's going to do something, but you must proceed with caution and know what's going on and be prepared for any alternative. And from there, we will go forward. In 20 years from now, I will not be here, but the young guys will be able to look back and say, we were part of a new and exciting industry, just as the sugar beet farmers did 80 and 100 years ago, just as the sunflower guys did starting back in 1960, and the soybean guys since then up in the Northern Valley here, and the canola guys, it was called rapeseed back then, now called canola. It's an exciting time. It's an exciting time to be in agriculture. It is an exciting time of the year. I wish you nothing but a happy Thanksgiving. Please stay in your little bubble. Let's meet up again on Monday. We'll talk more of Chat CANNA and Have You Heard. In the meantime, I wish you nothing but a blessed Thanksgiving.